everyone, have you ever noticed that the way we speak change completely depend on who we are talking to? Imagine when you are gonna texting your friend real quick, you probably gonna use the casual language like, "Hey, are you free? Can I borrow your notes real quick, please?" But what happens when you're gonna email your university lecturer? Your language shifts completely to, "Dear professor, sorry to bother your time. I'd like to ask that would it be possible for me to ask for yesterday material class? Thank you for your time." This is really the exact same person asking for the exact same thing, yet the language changed completely. This fascinating connection between our world and the social world is exactly what sociolinguistics is all about. Sociolinguistics is the scientific study about how language varies and changes in social contexts across different religions, cultures, and identities. As Janet Holmes put beautifully in her 2013 book, Introduction to Sociolinguistics, our speech uncovers clues to others about who we are, where we came from, and what the social experience we have had. So why we speak the same thing in a different ways? The key insight is that languages provide us with a rich variety of ways to express the same message. The choice of one linguistic form over another acts as a crucial clue to non-linguistic information, like our relationship, social status, and the context of the conversation. This variety isn't just about the language we choose, it includes the word choices, our sounds and pronunciation, which is we call it accent, our grammar, and our overall dialect. Ultimately, as sociolinguist William Labov pointed out, linguistics is not random. It's structured systematically by social factors. But what are they? Social factors and dimensions that shape our everyday language choices? To explain it and dive into some fascinating examples, I'll pass it to my friend.
Imagine you're chatting with your best friend. A few seconds later, your lecturer calls you. Suddenly, your words change, your language, your tone. Have you ever wondered why? This phenomenon is about social linguistics. So, I'm Shiva Nergaleta. My student numbers is 056. Today, we will discuss about relationship between language and social, or society and social linguistics. Here we go. Did you know what social linguistics means? Social linguistics is the relationship between language and society. Social linguistics focus on how we speak in social ethnicity, gender, your social class, and your people talk to you, like the gender, age. So, several important aspects are discussed within social linguistics. The first one is language variation. Language variation, one of the central concerns of social linguistics is language variation. People do not speak in exactly the same way. The languages choice may differ depending on age, gender, social class, ethnicity, education, occupation, and geographical location. For example, a university student may use formal language when presenting in the class or they speak with their lecturer, and switch to informal language when talking with their friends. Language variation can be categorized by three aspects. The first one is regional dialects, which are associated with geographical areas. Second, social dialects or socialists. It means which are associated with social group. And the last is individual style of speaking known as dialects. The next is number 2 is speech community. Speech community refers to a group of people who share common linguistic norms and expectations regarding language use. Members of a speech community may speak the same language, but more importantly, they share similar rules about when, where, how, and how language should be used. For instance, university students often form a speech community because they share academic vocabulary, communication style, and interaction patterns that may differ from those of other groups. And number 3 is language and social identity. Language is actually connected to identity. Why connect? Through language, people express who they are and indicate their membership in particular social group. Social identities reflect through language include gender identity, ethnicity, religious, national, professional identity. For example, certain vocabulary choices, accent, and expression may signal that a speaker belongs to a particular region, professional, and cultural group. Number 4 is code switching and code mixing. In multilingual societies, speakers often use more than one language during communication with other people around them.
We can see over here, one study conducted by Simatupang 2016 investigate code switching and mixing among overseas Indonesian students on social media. The study found that students frequently switch between Indonesian and English to express identity and adapt to different social situations. These findings support the sociolinguistic idea that language choice is influenced by social factor. For example, I have finished my assignment, tapi belum aku submit.
Number 5 is language attitudes. Language attitudes refers to people beliefs, people opinion about language attitudes or language variety. Certain accent or language may be viewed as pretentious, modern, educated, or professional, while others may be unfairly considered less pretentious. Language attitudes can influence educational opportunities, employment opportunities, social acceptance, and the last one is language maintains. Number 6 is language and gender. Sociolinguistics study how language use may differ between gender. Research has found that linguistic difference can appear in 4 aspects. The first one is vocabulary choice and polyphony strategies, conversational style, and the last one is communication goals. Number 7 is language and social class. Social class can influence language use. People from different socio-economic background may use different style in language. The first one is pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar, or slang words, and communication style. Number 8 is multilingualism and bilingualism. Many societies are multilingual, meaning that multiple languages are used within the same community. Bilingualism is the ability to use 2 languages. Multilingualism is the ability to use more than 2 languages. Indonesian provides a clear example of multilingualism because many citizens speak a local language, Indonesian, English, or or other foreign languages. Sociolinguistics investigate how multilingual speakers choose language in different situations. Number 9 is language change. Language change may occur because of technological globalization, social interaction, and cultural influence. For example, words such as download, streaming, and install and content creator have become common in everyday Indonesian communication. So, sociolinguistics examines how social factors contribute to this sociolinguistic and linguistic change. The lastly is 10 is politeness and language use. Politeness is an important aspect of communication, guys. Why is it important? Because different cultures have different expectations regarding respectful language. Speakers often adjust their language according to 4 aspects. The first one is age difference, 2 social status, 3 professional relationship, and the last is cultural norms. For example, students generally use more formal language when they are speaking to lecture than when interact with their close friends.
Now, let's look at the real-life example of what we often do unconsciously in our daily life based on social factors or dimensions. The first factors that is most noticeable is social relationship or level of familiarity. Consider the difference between talking to a close friend and a casual, reflexive person like, "Hey, where have you been? You're so arrogant nowadays." But can you imagine if you were lost on the street and had to access strangers? Your language will automatically shift to a very polite one like, "Excuse me, sir, sorry to bother you. I would like to know which way to the station." This change shows that the closer we are to someone, the more relaxed our language tends to be. Conversely, if there's a social distance between us and a stranger, we increases our politeness to maintain comfort. The second factor is social status and age. When we ask a sibling or someone younger than us for help, we might use a direct, casual sentence like, "Give me the TV remote now." However, when we're speaking to lecturers, parents, or superiors at work, we automatically gonna use the respectful pronouns like sir, madam, along with a structured vocabulary to show respect for their status like, "Excuse me, professor, I'm sorry to interrupt your time. I had a little trouble understanding the material that you presented this morning. Could you explain it more clearly?" Something kind of like that. The third factor is the formality of the situation. Consider how students speak during a thesis exam in front of an examiner. They might say, "Based on the research data we analyzed, it was found that mother flamingos can change color to white or pale when raising their young. But once the exam is over and they're gonna hang out in the cafeteria or some places with their friends, the same person immediately gonna say, "That's crazy, bro. I was so nervous when the examiner asked me that question." The choice of a formal and informal language varies greatly depending on the place and situations we find ourselves in.
Hi, I'm Julia and Alisa, and I would like to give 2 relevant examples based on sociolinguistic studies conducted by William Labov and Pujo Sudarmo. These studies show how language can be influenced by social class, social relationships, and the context in which people communicate. Okay, first, let's look at William Leboff's study in 1966. He studied how social class affects the way people speak in New York City. He found that employees in higher status department stores pronounce the R sound more often than employees in lower status stores. For example, students usually speak more formally when giving a presentation in class. They might say, "I would like to explain this topic." But when talking to close friends, they often use more casual language, such as, "Let me explain this." This shows that people adjust their language depending on the social situation. And then the second study is from Puja Sudarmo in 1968. He explained that Javanese has different speech levels, including ngoko, madhya, and krama. People choose different levels depending on who they are talking to. For example, a student may ask a friend, "Arep neng ndi?" using ngoko, but when speaking to a lecturer on an older person, they might say, "Bade tindak pundi?" which is the krama form. This shows how language can express respect and social relationships in Javanese culture. So, from this topic, we can see that language and society are closely connected. The way people speak can change depending on who they are talking to, where they are, and what they want to achieve. Sociolinguistics helps us understand that language is not only about grammar and vocabulary, but also about identity, culture, and social relationships.